And I'm now happy to introduce to you the next speaker, that is Olga Morozova from ABBYY. And she is going to talk about 5 steps to democratize the banking. So my topic is devoted to 5 steps to democratize the banking. That in ABBYY we show basing on the experience of AI products that we have been made for many years, and we have received certain experience on producing and applying them. And combined all our knowledge in this area, I would like to now briefly share with you the main things that we can see today on the background on the current trends of AI development in the fintech sector and worldwide. The AI market is growing, and we can see that in 2020 that has been a pretty hard year when banks have had losses, but still AI market has grown by 20%, over than 20%, and it has received a certain respect from many companies of many spheres. And I believe that many will agree that first and foremost, we need to understand what you want to automate and what effect of automation you would like to receive. And automation has to be really well cognized. And Gartner has spoken about hyper-automation for the recent 2 years. That is the effect that the industry has received because of the many multiple solutions that enable fast automation. And the accelerating rate of scope and tasks that have to be automated result in overlaps of automation. And the big picture does not look that good, but it's hard to understand what is what here, and AI helps us here. It helps us streamline business processes, have a big picture of them, and understand what needs automation. And for that, we have several tools that will help more effective automation. Here, we share McKinsey survey that is pretty interesting. McKinsey sees 8 technologies that are characteristic of the bank of the future, and we are an international company, so we can see trends of various banks, various markets, and AI technologies in Russia are introduced faster. And even in this picture, where we can see the features of the future, shows us that some of them are already introduced in our companies. For example, there is face recognition while entering some banks. For example, not long ago, I went to Sberbank, and it is up and running there. And I would like to focus on machine learning and NLP and speech-to-text technologies, because in our company that was a huge challenge, and we have researched this for the recent dozen of years. But the main leap was made a couple of years ago that enabled us to incorporate, to introduce the artificial language technologies into banking processes. And Sberbank has examples of these launches. So this feature of the future, in our view, will be enforced because the demand for that is really high, as it helps to get a lot of time and to speed up decision-making. The next step is about enhancing existing automation infrastructure. So when we understand what to automate, where to introduce AI technologies, here we need to improve it. And Again, I will give you an example from text analytics, our area of expertise. And it is obvious from our side, from the launches that we make, that in banking processes, a lot of space is present for natural language processing technologies. Still, a lot of documents are required to open an account by physical individuals, and people invest a lot of time and effort into starting these documents. And the technologies that we introduce would enable the employees to vacate around 95% of their time that can be devoted to other work. And we are all used to well-recognized documents like passport and ID, but only 20% of documents are like that. And the rest, 80%, is placed in natural language. And before AI was able to read it, only humans could do it. But now we can see that respective technologies are introduced and applied and are pretty successful. And as for text processing solution, these solutions receive more and more scope, and that results in the need of a platform that would enable to connect an array of tools that can work on these tasks, RAPA systems, IDP. So we work on IDP, intelligent document processing systems, that enable the user to streamline document processing in this end-to-end process. And when we, with banks, automate processes with different launches, we reach success, and the demands are higher, and there are RPAs, technology, and different data sources and the systems of data users. But to work effectively with all that, we need to have an end-to-end throughput process that will cover it all. And this is the path that we have almost covered, but a lot of our banks are still to do it. As for the third step and challenge that we can see for ourselves is about higher value through democratizing automation. That is when we want to launch faster, better, and more effectively. And there is a very interesting term that we hear a long time, and I welcome it very much. That is democratization of technologies, when you can treat the current pains in hours or days sometimes and receive the result now. A comparison that I can drive, for example, there is a huge clothing breakthrough that took place in industry when a sewing machine was invented. So this simple tool enabled to save a lot of time and effort. And likewise, machine learning can act in AI sphere, because that really cuts the time and effort that should be invested in the process. And the business effect understanding becomes more transparent. And one of the leading experts of Sberbank, one of Sberbank offices, yesterday, for example, decided to embark on our course using machine learning. So that is an example of democratization that will grow, I believe, in the future. And here we would like to show you an example of research by Everest Group that was carried out around banks and financial organizations that uses these low-code, no-code solutions. And they were surveyed on the reasons that made them take these decisions. Companies are forced to automate their business processes because of the current development and customer experience nudges the companies to become more automated, and some banking products launched to the market has to be fast. Otherwise, you will lose to your competitors. And the cost cutting is another reason, and HR management is another reason. And I believe we all know that AI is used internally in the banks to manage the personnel. And I will take more part in Sberbank surveys to help development of this sphere. As for the fourth step, that is about compliance by reducing process variations and errors. We need to understand what needs automation, what doesn't need automation, and where we can find other solutions. And process mining and task mining helps here a lot. And there are some launches in process mining now, and business processes efficiency cannot be cognized manually, and such intelligent solutions for business process analysis helps us drive solutions to the market faster and streamline business processes. Because remotely, you cannot have a look at how the employee works with this or that app. And one of our customers introduced task mining during COVID crisis because they were not able to assess the efficiency of these or those solutions that they used to do thanks to the timer, the counter. And now they can use these solutions to help them. Process mining market is growing, and we believe that it will go on growing. And in conclusion, I would like to say that after you have introduced something, you need to continuously improve customer service quality to stay ahead of the competition so that new technologies can enter your life, and the technological race that is present among companies is actually gaining momentum. We have to bear that in mind. And AI technologies help us be faster, more efficient, and face new challenges daily for our business, including banking. Banks are those that have vast experience in communicating with customers, and we are ourselves customers of banks, and we see that it is now easy to move from one bank to another. So it is a really very difficult task to retain the customers. And this is easier with the help of AI technologies. And that is a huge reach that a lot of banks are now using to monetize the knowledge that we have received from telecom. So that is all I wanted to share with you. If you have any questions, and if I have still time and chance to answer them, I would be happy to entertain them. Thank you, Olga.